Do you have anything to add?
Do you want us to add anything else? Or do you want us? Oh, hey.
I've been here this entire time, and I've not been able to say one single word. So I'm highly
Anyways,
offended.
we might have him in the next one. We'll see.
Oh, my God.
I am here with Mr. Aaron Phoenix. He is the DYD of North Dakota, so it's a very big privilege to be able to have him sit down. We know he's a busy guy. He does a lot of things, and so I appreciate you taking this time. I know you're probably prepping for the service or the session this evening too, but I just wanted to take some time and just give you the opportunity just to share about your life, share about your relationship with the Lord, how you came to be with Him, how you got called into ministry, and just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
On your channel.
Yeah.
I grew up in a great Christian home, and my parents are kind of first-generation Christians, and so it's kind of neat to see that legacy. My sister and I follow in Christ, and really, really grateful for the home I grew up in. Always from a maybe young teenager, middle school age, kind of sensed a call into ministry, maybe missions specifically as a young teenager, and so I didn't really even know how to what that meant or how to get there. But my senior year of high school, my dad took a job teaching at Trinity. And so we moved up to Ellendale, North Dakota, and grew up in Colorado, and so that was just a really easy transition. Okay, Bible college, and from there, God just kind of kept dropping seeds in my heart, just passion for youth ministry, and I was always active in our youth ministry and played on the worship team, and was able to get some ministry experience going to college, and even actually a preaching class with Professor Jones kind of sparked a passion to preach. And so I never really thought much about being a pastor. Had missions on my heart, but that preaching class really just ignited something. And so that I owe a lot to Professor Jones, and it was just a really formational class, and just had some really impactful teachers in my life at Trinity, and so started helping with the volunteering with the youth group in Ellendale under the current pastor there, and so he just kind of mentored me a little bit, and when he left, I was an interim, and then took the position there, and God just really, stirred my heart for youth ministry, and Tanya and I just love it so much, and so we had a little bit of transition after that. We're in a couple of different roles, working for an organization that helps kids of abuse, and Tanya did kids ministry at a church, but when the DYD position was offered to us, we really knew that that was something that God was calling us to, because we really love just still being involved in kids ministry, youth ministry, in young people's lives, and man, our heartbeat is just seeing students experience God, exposing students to missions. Missions is still huge on our radar and our hearts. So being able to lead missions trips and do things like that, we love that.
So when you got offered the DYD position, what was maybe the scariest part when you're thinking about taking it?
That's so cool looking back on that, because I was terrified. We led a pretty small youth ministry in Ellendale, the most we maybe ever ran 40 or 50 kids on a huge night, so normally we're standing in front of 20 or 30 kids, and so just thinking about leading camps and conventions and things like that was really scary to just, God, you're going to have to give me words to say, when I'm standing in front of 800 students or something like that. And that's really turned into one of my favorite parts of what I get to do. So just seeing God, speak through me and use me in those ways.
That's good.
I love it.
So you've been DYD for couple years now?
Yeah, going 3.5 years now.
Okay. So with the 3.5 years of experience, what's maybe something, like if you could go back and tell yourself before something were to happen, just to give yourself a heads up, what would it be? Like maybe like a challenge or maybe
Right.
a resource to look into or?
Yeah, I think staying organized.
Okay.
I've had to just get increasingly organized because things are busy and there's always so much going on and so much goes into events
Okay.
that the more organized I am, the easier it goes.
Okay.
And so, if I could have learned that even earlier, it helped a lot. Twyla, the DYD before me, passed a lot of her thoughts and organization and information. She passed a lot of that on,
Yeah.
so that was really helpful. But
That's good.
just been even learning that more over the last couple of years.
Okay. So where, a few years down, let's say 5 years down the road, where do you see yourself, and then where do you see, like, let's say the district-wide youth ministry
Yeah.
in DYM?
Yeah. So just last year, we were able to kind of merge district youth ministry and kids ministry. So now we are youth and kids directors for the state. And that's been a super positive thing, I think, just being able to kind of pull youth pastors and kids pastors together. And we just really have great camaraderie around the state and with pastors. And that's such a big deal to me because I feel like relationships that I've had with pastors around the state is what's kept me in ministry.
Yeah.
And so I really, really try to continue to foster that in our state. Over the next 5 years, I would love to just continue to see that grow and see youth and kids pastors maybe even connect more closely. Sometimes in those transition times, we can lose students from a kids ministry to a youth ministry if they're not really tied into a church family or something. So I think being able to kind of continue to bridge that gap is something that we want to work on. And for Tanya and I think we hope to continue to be in this position. We've seen just how important longevity is in some pastoral roles, ministry roles.
Yeah. You don't, just let me know if you don't feel like answering this question, but what is maybe something that you deal with that, let's say, the youth pastors underneath you don't realize?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think maybe what I didn't realize coming into the role, I didn't quite understand like speaker selection sometimes for events. Like, why would they bring in a speaker like that? Or, but looking back on it now and being able to see it from the other side, really, really feel pressure that I feel so strongly that our events need to be centered around like experiencing God, people who are passionate about the mission of God, and so selecting speakers that are of that same culture, even worship team who are kind of that same culture, and so it might not be the most popular person. Might not be the biggest name person, but just kind of always feel a pressure and a responsibility to bring in people to speak to our students that honor the same culture that we're a part of, maybe.
Okay. So, all right, to finish this off then here, we're going to do rapid fire. All these questions, he didn't get like a sheet beforehand asking him. This is actually, we kind of did this out of the blue. And so I think he's doing a pretty good job. But we're going to rapid fire, okay? So first question, favorite food?
Steak.
Okay, how do you like that done?
Medium rare.
Okay, favorite color?
Orange.
Why?
I had some orange shoes one time and they were sweet.
Okay,
So,
favorite food, or favorite fruit then?
kiwi.
Okay, Let's say.
I don't know why I said
favorite gift you've ever received.
That's a tough one.
Okay, favorite movie.
Anything Marvel.
Ooh, okay. Favorite book of the Bible.
Romans.
Favorite verse of the Bible.
I don't know where it's found, but the same Spirit that lives in me, or the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead also lives in me.
And then finally, what is a way that the people watching this video can pray for you?
Yeah, just maybe continued strength as we are on the road often, safety on the road, and it's just during our busy seasons that God would continue to sustain us.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been getting to know Aaron Phoenix's life a little bit more, and hopefully if you're watching this, especially if you're a youth pastor, you get some ideas maybe of things that you don't realize happen as a DYD, and hopefully you guys are praying for him, and if not, be praying, and we see some ways that we can be praying for that. But you've done a great job leading NDYM so far since being in here, and so
we love it.
We're happy to have you as a leader there for that, and we really are blessed by that. Just hope you know that. But thanks for joining me today and allowing us to sit down and do this. And thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Oh, sweet. Good.